I've been playing video games for as long as I can remember, and in that time I've played hundreds if not thousands of different titles, ranging across the board on different genres from platformers, shooters, FPS games, horror games, strategy games, and while some I enjoyed, there was definitely areas that I favoured more than others. In later eras I became more familiar with horror games and I really enjoyed them with the likes of Resident Evil. As we all know, I'm a big fan of the franchise. But in saying that, there are very few games that I've ever played that really just left me almost speechless, that almost left me with a sense of a surreal feeling that literally would raise the hairs on the back of your neck, even on your arms when you played. And believe it or not, there was one particular racing game that managed to do that for me, and it would also be one of the first racing games I ever played on the PlayStation way back in Christmas of 1996. They came in the form of a demo, and that would be the original Formula 1 game. And like I said, for all the games that I had played, like you had a sea of racing games on the demos that I got access to. We had like Wipeout 2097, Monster Trucks, Destruction Derby, even with rolling demos of Destruction Derby 2, Ridge Racer and a couple of others. And while I did enjoy watching them and even playing them, the first Formula 1 game was leaps and bounds beyond anything else for me personally. And more to the reason because again, I love cars, I love racing, but I used to grow up with my brothers watching the Formula 1 on the TV when we were kids, and I was always a big fan. So to get to witness something that was literally in a game format but yet at the same time looked so real, detailed, authentic, that had all of the visible and physical attributes along with the sound effects, even commentary from Murray Walker, it really did just blow my mind. Like the first time I played this way back, I was 14 years old. Now I wasn't exactly a child, but even at that, my young mind was just completely just in a different world at that point once I seen what this game was able to do. There really was nothing else like it at the time, and in all honesty, apart from its sequel Formula 197, I don't think there will be anything like it again. While modern games do have all of the flash, they have all of the tricks, and they have all of the fancy bells and whistles, and while they're good games in their own right, I just really don't think that they capture that magic that this game and its sequel managed to capture. And I think there's a reason behind that, because it was developed by Bizarre Creations along with Psygnosis, that would later go on to create even more incredible racing games with the likes of Metropolis Street Racer on the Sega Dreamcast, the Project Gotham Racing series on the Xbox, and would later be responsible for also working on the likes of Drive Club and a few other very memorable games. For some reason, when it came to racing games, no matter what they touched, they were able to just invoke that magic wherever they went. I even found that with Drive Club in more modern times. For me, hands down, while I love even the Gran Turismo series, Drive Club, in my own personal opinion, is the greatest driving game ever on the PlayStation 4. It was so addictive, great selection of cars, great visuals, still in my opinion has the best weather dynamics seen in any video game ever, even to this day. It just looks so good. So much to a point that I went out and literally bought all of the DLC, even the motorbikes add-on as well, because I was so addicted to playing the game. Very few games ever capture my imagination like that. Usually it's Resident Evil or anything related to Resident Evil that usually does that, but the fact is the racing games are able to do that, that's definitely something special, and this game is one of those games. And while its later sequel with Formula 197 refined the whole genre and quite simply is the best racing game of this type or Formula 1 games ever seen on the PlayStation, there was never bettered after that. But for me, this here is my personal favourite Formula 1 game. This here is where the magic happened and still happens, because there's no other game like it that really gives you that sense of feel of true to real life events, especially for its time. There's nothing else like it on the PlayStation, really. You'd be hard pressed to find anybody out there that if you asked them what are their favourite racing games on the PlayStation, if Formula 1 wasn't on that list, there would be something wrong. This, along with its sequel, are two of the greatest hidden gems ever in the world of gaming. That really set the stage for everything that was to come after it. And in true nature, I really don't think that it's been bettered, in fairness. It just captured everything and it just did it right. Like the fact that you could play a game that felt so authentic. You had all of the sound effects, you had all the loud noises, all of the engine sounds from the V10s, V12s, all the loudness of those iconic moments from the races, along with the commentary in the background. There really was nothing else like it, and I don't think there ever will be anything like it again. Like, I speak very, very highly of this game. Yes, Formula 1 97 is a more refined experience, but the first one is where it's at for me personally anyway. I still go back to play this every so often. There's just something about it that just draws me back, but the fact is that they got it perfect, or almost near perfect, on the first attempt. Great handling physics, great track design layouts that are modelled off of real life tracks. Like, it's funny, like other Formula 1 games came out after the first two games from Bizarre Creations, and they were nowhere near as good even in terms of handling physics, how they looked, played and felt. Yeah, some of them visually might have been better to a degree, but even for earlier games, like this game came out in 1996, this thing was a visual masterpiece. And for me, it's still one of the greatest looking racing games, or any game on the PlayStation for that matter, that not only pushed the PlayStation to its limits, but it really showcased the powerhouse that it was going to become. And the fact is that at that time the PlayStation had been gaining in popularity very, very quickly, mind you, but the fact is that the console just kept pumping out these games, and a lot of developers were suiting to go and develop for Sony's console more over anything else. It just blew everything out of the water, it really did, and this game here helped that trend without question. If you wanted a true to life racing experience for its time, there was no better game out there than this. Like I said, the only games that have bettered this are its sequel, Formula 1 97, and then if you consider likes of Gran Turismo 1 and 2. Out of all of them, these are the true racing experiences that you will get on the PlayStation, hands down. Now, I know that that is my opinion, and I'm sticking by it. I don't care what anyone says, but at the same time, I'm sure that a lot of you will agree. This game is just absolutely incredible. Like, I can even remember now a 14-year-old me playing the PlayStation for the first time, and it was just a demo, mind you, playing on the Nürburgring, and I remember picking Michael Schumacher when he was with the Renault team during that season, and I'll just never forget it. Hearing the sounds of the cars, just the authentic nature, the engines revving when you're driving, hearing Murray Walker, it just felt like that you were part of the experience that you would witness on a Sunday afternoon. I had never witnessed a racing game that looked that highly detailed before at that time. It really did just blow my mind, even amongst a sea of other games and demos that I had been playing at the time. But I've always found myself going back to playing the Formula 1 game equally as much as any of the other games I played, even as much as, say, Resident Evil, and I consider Resident Evil to be my number one favourite game of all time. I know it's in a completely different genre, but I also am a big fan of racing games equally as much, and the one game that I found myself going back to more than anything was Formula 1, because it was very reflective of my own experiences growing up, and I think that's what drew me in. But even so much so that a couple of years later for Christmas, my youngest brother, because he's also a massive Formula 1 fan, he got it as a Christmas present, and sure, that was it. He was hooked as well. The fact is that he could get to play it as well. You couldn't get him off the PlayStation. And bear in mind, I had 4 younger brothers, so trying to get time on the PlayStation, if I wasn't playing it, I was usually the one playing it most of the time, but if my brother got on this, that was it. And it's easy to see why, because it's just an incredible masterpiece. It still holds strong even today. Like, whenever you put up a post, like say if I put up a post of this on my Twitter page, there'll be a link in the description if you want to check that out, where I do post regular updates of games I'm playing and just information about stuff. I find it gets loads of views, loads of traction, and just people are just so fond of this game, it's not even funny. Well, actually it is, because it's easy to see why. The game is just incredible. No ifs or buts about it. Yes, it does have its flaws, which were later rectified in the sequel. The only major issue I found with this game, and I think a lot of people were in the same, that the multiplayer mode consisted of having a link cable, so you needed 2 PlayStations and 2 TVs in order to play against another player. That was the only weakness really in the game. But again, in the sequel there would be a split screen mode added, but it doesn't take away from the experience. If anything, when you look at it in the grand scheme of things, this is without a doubt one of the best single player racing games that's out there, even to this day. In fairness, it really is. It's a timeless classic. It's well deserving of the PlayStation's catalogue, and to be fair, and I think in all honesty, I think without this game or its series, the first 2 games in this by Bizarre Creations, I think the PlayStation, even though while it was successful, I think by having this in its back catalogue really helped it to reach global appeal. It really did, without question. Like, I can rave on and on about it, but at the end of the day, I'm just sharing my opinions, but at the same time, I would also love to hear everybody else's opinions about this iconic game. This is just truly incredible, and I could talk about it all day, but regardless of what I think, again, I would love to know your thoughts and what you think of this game. What stories do you have to share, and what are your most fond memories of it? So be sure to share it down in the comments below, and if you you would like to see more content around other types of Formula 1 games that were released on the PlayStation that I have covered on the channel, then you can check out this playlist on screen to see more of those games in action. And as always, keep those gaming memories alive.